So, wir sprechen jetzt mit Gabriel Shipton, er ist der Bruder von Julian Assange und ist mit seinem Vater unterwegs in der Mission, den Widerstand gegen die Auslieferung und den Kampf für die Befreiung von Julian zu verbreitern. Gabriel, hello.
Hi.
You met the Reichstag yesterday?
Yes.
And what is your feeling about the parliamentarians?
Well, we had over 30 parliamentarians on the steps of the
30?
Reichstag. Yes, over 30 from every major party. CDU, SPD, Die Linke, Green Party.
Even the Greens?
Yes, the Greens as well. There were quite a few Greens there, but there's these parliamentarians. They represent millions of German people. They carry the wishes of the German people into the parliament, and the German people saying that they want Julian free. And so these parliamentarians carry their wishes into the German parliament and tell the government that this is what the people want. They want the government, the German government, to call on their allies, the UK and the US, to end this persecution of a journalist, publisher. But I think the support in the Bundestag is, probably one of the leading support groups around the world. So recently they voted in favour of putting Julian Assange on as an official agenda item on the committee, the American-German Friendship Committee, so that when parliamentarians travel from Germany to the US, to Washington, to meet their counterparts, they have Julian's freedom as part of their official agenda to raise with their counterparts. So, really, we're telling people about the German parliament wherever we go, and these actions that have been taken out are an example to parliaments, in Australia. Or I was in the Mexican Senate last month, and I said, this is what they're doing in the German parliament. You can do this as well. Mexican senators, they're always seeing their counterparts in the US, and they can put motions in place like this, official motions in the Senate, something similar that was done in the Bundestag. So I think really the Bundestag is really leading the way in this sense.
Is that true?
Yeah, and I think that's
I'm proud of that.
No, I mean,
I'm not very often proud of the Bundestag.
Well, I think, you should be, and that's why it's so important to get these groups together and do things like this on the steps of the Reichstag and keep the momentum going, because it's heard everywhere around the world in parliaments. Yeah.
Tell me something about the reactions of Julian if you tell him such stories.
Yeah, I mean, they're always, it's always nice to be able to go to the prison and tell him that these things are happening. It's buoys his spirit, and he's always very appreciative, but it's this thing that this is his food. This is what keeps him going inside the prison, because otherwise, if you're in there fighting against the biggest power on earth, what have you got? What weapons do you have other than the people outside who support you? So it's really those things that really keep his soul together and his fighting spirit keep him going. Yeah.
What is planned for the next actions and what happens today, and what was happening the last days here in Berlin?
Well, I've been in Berlin premiering European premiere of a film we made about John, Julian's dad, and Julian's wife Stella, and their fight to free him. And we had an incredible premiere. We were the opening film of the Human Rights Film Festival in Berlin. Huge standing ovation, full house theaters. I did another screening last night, and it was a full house. And probably tonight, I think fingers crossed, it's the award presentation. So fingers crossed we win an award tonight for the film. But continuing on with that film, we'll release it in the US. North American premiere is happening on November the 13th at Doc NYC. So that's sort of a more grassroots, getting to people, getting in front of people, telling them about Julian's story. Because the more we do that, the more it's so easy once you explain it to people what's going on. They can see what's at stake, the principles at stake, and you say, once you explain, well, he's in jail for 4 years, not guilty, not convicted, not serving a sentence, for publishing the truth about war crimes, corruption. People sort of instantly see that this isn't right. So the more we do that, the more the movement grows around the world. So that's really important. We are working in Australia as well. The Australian government has changed now. There's world leaders. It's not just parliamentarians now. There's world leaders who are speaking out against this persecution. So you have, for instance, Lopez Obrador in Mexico calling out Joe Biden publicly. We were there me and my father went there for the Mexican Independence Day on his invitation. And he said, he actually trolls Joe Biden. So he said to Joe Biden, if you extradite Assange, you may as well send the Statue of Liberty back to France, because that's, there is no liberty in the US if this extradition goes ahead. And then you have the Prime Minister in Australia who's, come out and said, enough's enough. He doesn't see what purpose is served by Julian being in prison. And now the Australian government is, at the moment, they've said they're making diplomatic representations to the United States about getting Julian home. And so I think, once you have these layers, the people, there's books being written, there's songs being made, there's the parliamentarians who are all backing Julian's freedom, and now we have the world leaders as well. So I think eventually this international upwelling, a wave of support will set Julian free.
You're the filmmaker, and you're a filmmaker, and you're the filmmaker of this movie. Let me ask you a very intimate, private question. As an artist, what is the approach, your artistic approach to the subject, and which mistakes you try to avoid?
Well, so I'm a film producer. I before this documentary that I did, we usually produce scripted drama films, like this classic storytelling, these, and we wanted to use that.
Only documentary?
No, I've never done a documentary. This is the first one.
It's the first one.
Yeah, but we wanted, I always thought, I always seen the power in these stories that, feature films and scripted films. I always, seen the power, see how they can move people, seen how people leave these theatres with a feeling, they cry, they laugh. You can really change someone through these stories, through these human stories. And that's, when we started out on this journey to make this documentary, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to move people. We wanted to tell an emotional side of the story. We wanted to tell the story of a father fighting for his son, and a story that everyone could understand. Every family could understand that they would do anything to save their children's lives, or their husband, or something like that. So we really tried to lean into that side of the story, and through opening people's hearts, we're opening their minds as well, with sort of soft information, so that we're not preaching to them, but
not preaching.
Yeah, no, but we're taking them on a journey, and they follow John, Julian's dad, and Stella on their journey, and they become moved, they become attached to this story, and we've seen audiences at the end crying and really becoming emotional and wanting to know what they can do and how they can help. And I think John and Stella and their fight, they really set an example in any battle for something bigger than yourself. How do people keep going? How do when you're fighting for a cause that is bigger than yourself, and it seems that your adversary is all powerful, what keeps us going? What is the magic ingredient that keeps these people going? And by showing that through John and Stella, I think people realize that they too can make a difference. And I hope people leave the theatre thinking that. And we really tried to tell a different side of the story as well. So, Julian is been totally dehumanized. He's in a prison. He's kept from view. He hasn't been able to attend a court proceeding since January 2021. He applies to attend them. They get rejected. So nobody's seen Julian. Nobody's heard his voice for the last 4 years. And so it's this part of this psychological torture that's happening to him is the dehumanization of Julian. So we tried to really learn about Julian through the people that love him in the film. And we hope that once you see that, you realize, Julian's just a man, he's just another human. And what's happening to him shouldn't happen to anyone. So that's what we really tried to do, and get past those headlines and how Julian's, people have related to Julian through the media forever and ever. And we wanted to sort of get past that and show the Julian that we know as his family. Yeah.
Last question. If the situation could come, we all want to avoid, but the US imperialism is a very mighty construction and assisted by the English.
Yes.
So if he will be brought to the US, are you prepared for this situation?
I mean, that's what we sort of live in fear, that he'll be extradited. There's all this expert witness testimony that was accepted by the Magistrate Court and the High Court in the UK, was that if extradition were to become imminent, Julian would find a way to end his own life. And so I don't, we're not prepared for that. We're not going to let that happen. And so we're going to fight this until, every step of the way. And I think, this, every day there's more and more people joining. This movement is growing and growing and growing. And so, I have faith in people, and I have faith that common sense will prevail in Julian's case, and that he'll be free. That's how I sort of see it. In terms of, I've been to the US five or six times in the last year and a half. So, really, that's where the decisions have been made. So we have to go there and take the fight there, take it to the people there, and it's not a homogenous thing, right? There are still people inside the US who can see this for what it is, a threat to their First Amendment. And me and John and I, Julian's dad, when we have a chuckle, we always have a laugh, because at the end of the day, we've been out meeting thousands of people, talking in front of huge crowds, and we're like, hold on, we're two Australians talking to the US, talking to Americans about their First Amendment, convincing them to stand up for their First Amendment. So I think, we do get good reception there, and there is a huge support network there as well. There's Congress people now who are on our side, and it just keeps growing and growing. So I think, God forbid that Julian is extradited, we're ready to take the fight there.
But there are many famous artists joining the movement also. Please tell us some names.
Well, I
know Roger Waters.
Yeah, Roger Waters is very strong.
Yeah,
incredible.
Very strong person.
Yeah, incredible. Sean Lennon, MC Hammer. There's plenty of them. Susan Sarandon. Plenty of American artists who are on our side as well. Just yesterday, John Malkovich, the actor, he came out in support.
Yeah.
So there's new people joining as well. It's not.
I heard of Robert Redford.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's a new one for me. That's great.
I heard that he said something
cool.
positive too.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much, and I thank you in the main case for what you're doing for your brother, because we are all with him. I think perhaps we are also successful in fighting Julian Assange.
I think that's right. Don't lose the faith. We've got to keep the faith up and keep fighting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dina.